All right. So first thing I want to do is kind of go over some vocabulary that Miss McLeod posted earlier. So bell-shaped curve is just talking about this type of curve. It's the curve that you think of normally when you think about statistics. A frequency distribution is kind of this frequency table. Y'all used to see these in Algebra 1. And so you kind of can see how the numbers will go up or go down and then go back up. So this is going to give you that bell-shaped curve, right? Roughly. Might be a little bit skewed just because of this 47, but it's still going to give you that curve. Mean or average is represented by this X bar. Okay. And how you calculate that is you add up all the numbers and then divide by how many numbers you actually have. Okay. Any questions on these three vocab? And just stop me whenever y'all have a question, or you can post it in the chat because I can actually see it now. So percentage, a part of a whole expressed in hundredths is a percentage. Y'all pretty much know what a percentage is. It's kind of like if I was to say, hey, you've got a 74 in my class, that's 74%. Okay. Population group is the entire group being studied. So this would be like if I took all of the students at South Gwinnett High School, that would be the population, and I pulled a sample of those people. Like I pulled out all of the kids who were in a gifted class. That would be my sample, okay? And my population would be the students at SGHS, right? Okay. Spreadsheet, y'all know how that works. Now, standard deviation is where a lot of people get confused. So standard deviation is, this measures the deviation between the scores and the mean. In other words, it measures how dispersed or spread out the data is, okay? Yeah, this was today's DLD. It should be under April 15th or the 15th DLD. So this is what you were supposed to do, right? Like y'all did that? Yeah, okay. All right, so basically with standard deviation, what you're gonna do is you're gonna have this mean down the middle. And then the standard deviation is gonna tell you how far over it's gonna be. So this will create, like, let's say your average is a 70. Let's say your standard deviation is 2.5. This number right here is going to be 7.25. Then you're going to take 7.25 and add 2.5 to that. And that's going to give you your next little section. Okay. And if you watched the video for today, you should have seen that. Okay. So normal distribution is a continuous distribution that is symmetrical. That means it's even, and it's got a bell-shaped curve. And the mean and the median are equal. And 100% of the data is under the curve. Okay, this is going to be important later on. I would remember this little sentence right here. 100% of the data is under the curve. That's for normal distribution. Okay. These are the different symbols. So we write the values for population using Greek letters. So population mean is represented by this mu right here, this little like M looking symbol. Sample mean is written out as X bar. Population standard deviation is represented by this little sigma. And sample standard deviation is SD. Okay, so those are a little bit different. And actually, if you take psychology, there is a difference between these two. So this is beneficial if you wanted to go into the psych realm. I know this also is beneficial when you do experiments and stuff like that in biology. So that was some of the vocab. Properties of normal distribution. Again, bell-shaped curve. That means that it's going to have that curvature. It's going to be symmetrical. That means it's going to be even on both sides. And the mean and the median are the same. I would remember that phrase or that sentence. Okay. And located at the center of the distribution means it's going to be right smack dab in the middle. And 100% of the data is under the curve. Now, we use something called the empirical rule to help us. So these are things that you kind of have to have memorized. I personally memorize it just to make it a little bit easier, but these 4 little bullet points are important. So it says 68.2% of the data falls within 1 standard deviation of the mean. 95.4% of the data falls within 2 standard deviations, and 99.7% falls within 3 standard deviation, and 0.3% is used to account for outliers. Outliers are numbers that don't go with the rest of the terms. Okay. Any questions over this so far? Okay.
Wait.
Sorry.
Dang it. Oh, wait.
You good, Julia?
Oh, yeah. Could you repeat that last part, please? The thing cut out for a second.
So outliers, they don't go with the rest of the terms. So for instance, if I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I put the number 40 in that little series or those numbers, obviously 40 would be a number that is outside of those terms, right? Like it would skew the data. Okay.
Oh, okay. Got it. Thank you.
No problem. So this is the picture of that. And just like what those 4 bullet points said, 68.2% is right here. That's 1 standard deviation. So if I take 34.1 and 34.1, that's 68.2% fall within 1 standard deviation. And you can see that right here. 95.4 is 2 standard deviations. So with the green and the yellow, that's 2 standard deviations away. And then the red section would be 3. Outliers would be all the way over here. Okay? And this is just a picture of the normal distribution. So this was your assignment for today, and I'm assuming most of y'all want to probably go over this. Y'all good? Okay. All right. So I'm going to go over this stuff. So the first thing is I'm trying to match these to the pictures right here, or the graphs. So the first thing that I want to look at is all of the means. So I'm going to look at the means. All right. Well, which one's different? Well, this mean is 12, and these are all 10. And this one has a mean of 8, and these are all 10. Okay. So let's look at this mean of 12. That's the first one that's a little bit different, right? So out of these graphs, which one has a mean of 12? That means 12 is smack dab in the middle. And y'all can talk back to me, like y'all can answer.
5. I think 5.
Think 5. All right, so let's look at it. So write down this right here in the middle. We think that's 12. Is that correct?
I mean, I think so.
Yeah. Okay. So B would be 5. Yeah. With me so far on that. Okay. Let's look at the other mean that's a little bit different. This one right here that says 8. So that means that I'm looking for a graph that has 8 in the middle. So which one of these graphs that's left over, 1, 2, 3, or 4, has a mean that's 8 in the middle?
Three.
3. Okay. So E is going to be 3. All right. So that takes care of this one. It takes care of that one. All right. So now let's look at the standard deviations. So this one, choice A has a standard deviation of 1. Choice C has a standard deviation of 2. And choice D has a standard deviation of 0.8. Okay. So how are we going to tell the difference between these? So what is the standard deviation going to do to our bell curve? What is it going to do to the height, or maybe how far spread out it is?
Oh, wait, increase, decrease?
Miss Kendry never taught us this.
Okay, well, we can go over it. I mean, it should have been posted on your digital learning today, but we can talk about it, because one point or another, you're going to have to know it. So I can help you right now learn it. Okay?
Yes, please.
Okay. So with the standard deviations, okay, since this one has 1, and this one has 2, and this one has 0.8, okay? And if y'all even, I know y'all can see the answer key on that document. So with that being said, if it's closer together, it's going to have a higher parabola, right? So it's going to be kind of smushed more. So which one of these standard deviations is the lowest?
4.
So let's look at that again. So either A, I'm going to use a different color so you can see it. So either A, C, or D, look at their standard deviations. So it's got 1, 2, and 0.8. And I'm saying that the lower the standard deviation, the tighter it's going to be, right? Okay, so out of these, which one has the lowest standard deviation?
I think it's D.
Right. Okay. So D
Oh.
is going to be 1.
Because you said it's like it squeezes.
Yes, right? It's kind of closer together.
1 second.
What was the question?
Whose car do you use? There ain't no questions.
All right. Make sure that y'all mute yourself if you don't have a question. All right. So now let's look at 2 and 4. Okay. So along those lines, if we look at choice A and we look at choice C, and just like what I told you, the lower the number is, the more closer together it's going to be, right? So out of 2 and 4, which one is going to be choice A? Out of 2 or 4, which one's going to be choice A? The lower the standard deviation is, the closer and tighter it's going to be. The higher that peak's going to be.
2.
So A is going to be 2.
Okay.
And then that leaves us with C being 4, right? Okay, questions over that?
You said the standard deviations, like the higher it is the tighter it is.
The lower the standard deviation is, the tighter the numbers are going to be. Like the higher the peak's going to be. Higher the bell-shaped curve is going to be. You okay on this?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Okay.
I am. Thank you.
All right. So do you notice how on 5 and 2, they've got about the same height, right? On 5 and 2, they've got about the same height. That's because their standard deviation are the same.
Oh, okay.
Right? Okay. Does that help a little bit?
Yes, it does.
Okay. And then if we look at 4, if we look at 4 and 3,
aren't they the same?
They also have the same standard deviation, right?
Yeah.
So standard deviation for 4 and 3 are the same. And we can see that by look at what the height is. This has a 0.2 and then this one has a 0.2. Now, are we seeing that a little bit more? I know there's just a bunch of lines on here. There's a lot going on. All right. So that last question down at the bottom was, what do you notice about the normal distributions and their mean and standard deviation? So if you were to summarize this page from what you learned, what would you tell me? What about the mean? Where was the mean located?
The mean is located in the middle.
Okay. So it's in the middle of the bell curve, right? Okay, so that's what you would write. And then what about the standard deviations? What do we know about those? I told you the lower, go ahead.
The lower the number is, the more high the graph is going to be, or the bell curve. And the higher the number, the more fatter is gonna be.
Mhm.
Right? Yeah.
Yep. And then higher the number, the fatter. I like that. That makes sense. Fatter or wider it's gonna be.
Oh.
Yeah, wider.
There you go. Yep. So just like in this graph right here and this one right here, it's a little bit more spread out, right? It's shorter and a little bit fatter. Okay. Are we okay on this? This was the document
Yes.
for my kids. This is the document I wanted you to turn in today. So you're all done with that. Okay. I'm gonna flip the page. Okay. So I just kind of wanted to open up and ask, do you have any questions on either the extra credit, the midterm? I'm just kind of go over what all of that is. So the extra credit, your teacher should have sent out an example of this. I created a YouTube video of basically a project on that. And then the midterm, that's on the quizzes section of your e-class page. Make sure that you do that because that's probably the best way to help your grade right now, besides doing your work. Making up quizzes or tests that you missed the first time, these are going to be reopened. So if you missed like last week's quiz or something, they're going to be reopened on Thursdays and they're going to close Friday at 11:59 p.m. Okay. And there will be a performance final and final exam. That's going to come a little bit later in May though. So don't stress about that too much yet. Are there any other questions over anything we talked about today or anything in the class?
I
Hi.
No, I got a question on. Is it on the quizzes, like on the e-class quizzes, right?
Are you talking about for the midterm?
No, for for the midterm. Yeah.
Okay, so you're gonna go under your quizzes for the e-class page, and then it'll say midterm AKS 8, and then it'll say midterm AKS 20, and it'll say midterm AKS, because there's 5 different quizzes that you can take.
Okay.
So that'll help your grade a little bit because they do replace your grade. So like let's say you bombed AKS 17, this can help it. Okay.
What about the Delta math?
Delta Math also gets reopened on Thursday to Friday.
Okay. Thursday and Friday?
So it'll reopen
This Thursday and Friday?
Trying to do noon on Thursday and then stay open Friday all day.
Okay.
Okay.
So this Thursday and Friday, tomorrow
Yes.
and okay.
You said
Thank
Kendrick
you.
was your teacher?
Yeah.
Okay. If she forgets to reopen it, just let her know, and she'll open it back up. Because we are trying to open a bunch of stuff and some things can be overlooked. So just make sure that you communicate with her. Any other questions for me?
What's your dog's name?
My dog?
Yeah, it was
His
just
name is
like
Ben.
barking in the back, and I was just like,
Yeah. So he's a retriever mix. I think he's mixed with Rottweiler. Oh, Julia. I love it. Yeah. But his name's Ben. So he's a cutie pie. If you watch the extra credit example video, you get to see him. So that's exciting.
I thought you stopped recording.
Right now?
Oh no, you said extra credit. Oh, I'm gonna watch that.
Oh no. Yeah, I posted that in the Remind, I think earlier today.